1 minute. You ready? Good morning. This meeting is called to order. For the record, the time is 11 a.m. The date is 2/4/25. The commission and its staff are appearing from Helena, Montana in the Bollinger Room of the Montana Public Service Commission. I'm Commissioner Brad Molnar, and I'm the presiding chairman for this meeting. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the record, the following commissioners are present. We physically present. We have Commissioner Pinocci on my left, and we have Commissioner Fielder on my right. We have two that are here via Zoom. Commissioner Wellborn and Commissioner Bukasek, are you on?
I am.
Very good. Thank you. The Public Service Commission welcomes any comment on any item that is on today's agenda or any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Montana Public Service Commission. Are there any public commenters in the room? One was listed, but seeing none. Are there any public commenters online? Are there any public commenters online? Senator Phelan has requested to go first. I'm sure he's a very, very busy senator. Senator Phelan, your comment, please.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I don't know how to address you, but Chairman and committee, yes, my name is Senator Bob Phelan. I just wanted to know if the committee is aware of what the Montana Constitution says regarding reclamation found in Article 9, Section 2. Just was going to read to it. It says, Article 9, Section 2, it says reclamation. Number 1, all lands disturbed by taking of natural resources shall be reclaimed. The legislature shall provide effective requirements and standards for the reclamation of lands disturbed. Number 2 says the legislature shall provide for a fund to be known as the Resource Indemnity Trust of the state of Montana to be funded by such taxes on the extraction of natural resources as the legislature may from time to time impose for that purpose. And number 3, it says the principle of the Resource Indemnity Trust shall forever remain inviolate in an amount of $100 million guaranteed by the state against loss of diversion. So I just wanted you to realize that when land is being disturbed, it's got to be reclaimed. So that's what I know.
Okay, thank you, Senator Phelan. Did you wish for us to respond to you in writing as to what our capacities are on these issues?
That'd be great.
We shall do so, sir.
Is there any questions?
We don't normally do that, but
Okay,
Senator, I'm sorry, Commissioner Pinocci does have one.
Okay.
I'm thinking about the bill you have on wind turbines. Perhaps you'd like to work with Trevor in our office here, Trevor Graff. And are you thinking there could be language the legislation could put that the Public Service Commission would help oversee that a tax for land reclamation to fit the Montana Constitution apply to wind turbines. In removing the wind turbines, the foundation of the turbines, and of course, the big issue is I understand that debris from turbines have poisoned a crop, which wasn't allowed to be sold. And of course, the concern is that going to be an issue? Is that kind of your thoughts, Senator?
Well, Mr. Chair, what in the bill, on the page 1, it says that commission means the Public Service Commission provided in 2-15-2602. And so if somebody can enlighten me on that, I would know. But if I think if the DEQ is not doing their job, then maybe some of this should be transferred to the PSC. I don't know. I just wondered. So what are you thinking?
Okay, thank you. We will get back to you on
Okay.
questions to the best of our ability. I have a
Okay.
couple of initial thoughts, but we'll wait to do it at that time.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
We have another online commenter. Mr. Patterson, are you on?
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you very much for taking my call. Couple things real quick, I definitely support Senator Phelan's Senate Bill 160. So if you needed any comments from public people, other than that, I would certainly like to chime in on that. A couple things that I was talking about based on your last hearing, I wanted to tell you guys I really enjoyed and learned a lot from the carbon fiber transmission line little mini seminar that you had there, or information meeting there. I thought that was wonderful, and I would like to encourage you to do keep that up and maybe expand that and do some more of that. For I don't know who all listened to it or watched it, but it's online still. I think it was recorded, but I told a couple of people about it, and it was really right down where I was kind of mentioning before about the carbon fiber lines there. So good job. Kudos to you guys on that, and keep it up. Along those lines, I was doing some exploratory work on MDU and talking to some of the guys that sell the gas out there. They're making a $1.80 MCS, a million cubic feet per second, whatever it is on it deal there. So, and then it takes about 30% of their income to pay for all these fees and stuff that has out of there, and they end up selling it to Rainbow, which is a kind of an offshoot of MDU, and I'm exploring that, and maybe sometime in the future you guys could get that down, or so some of these guys could understand how that worked out there. But I would be more than happy to provide some data for you on Saco. For instance, the town of Saco, they have records going back years and years on some of the history on it. So to help your staff out, I know they're overloaded with a lot of stuff, but that was just an offer that I'd like to put out. And what I was kind of calling about today, too, and it's been kind of bothering me as a cattle producer, rancher, farmer out in the hinterland, weather makes such a big difference. That's why I'm really interested in the carbon fiber transmission lines, as far as not only efficiency of it, but the mitigation of fires and one thing else that comes on it, but chemtrails. And I know that sounds like it might not be in your bailiwick, but it kind of is in a way. And I was doing some research on it right now. As of January 23rd, there's 15 states, and they've got introduced at least 25 bills that deals with weather modification and some of the other things. So with solar and wind and all the other energy problems or whatever that comes through there, I think this would probably fall under the purview of the Public Service Commission to at least take a look at and somewhat regulate. I have a whole stack of bills from all the different legislators and some of the testimony that went through it from, Idaho, North Dakota, Wyoming. Oh my God, there's 15 of them altogether there. So, I mean, And they aren't like conspiracy theory or nutcase deal. These are all proven. In fact, I went to the point of even finding, the White House was pushing ahead research to cool Earth by reflecting back sunlight article that they had on there where they're spraying like sulfur dioxide and some of the other chemicals in there that are detrimental to human and animal health as far as that goes. And so it's out of the pages of the White House and government that they're actually doing this. So it's not a conspiracy theory or anything else that's actually going on. And I think that it would be good for you guys to maybe think about it, in my opinion, anyhow, and whatnot. So those are just a couple of comments that I had, but I really wanted to say again, thank you so much for putting on that informational meeting. I would really hope that in the future, some more informational meetings come up and, for whatever you have there with your commissioners. I know you got an important job and a lot of stuff going on, but wow, not only I think that maybe you guys are learning a few things, but I certainly am. And I think in the long run, an informed public is probably a better public out there at the same token. So thank you so very much for the time you allowed me, and look forward to hearing your other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pattison. Are there any others online? There is. I don't have a name. Oh, I do. I'm sorry. Renee Pertz, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, please make your comment.
Yes, this is Renee Pertz. I'm in Terry, Montana, Prairie County. And I do support Bob Phelan's bill and would hope that you would revisit that again. I know you were observing that, and I appreciate your time on that. There's a lot, these PFAs, I think, need to be looked at. This is, they're called the forever chemicals, and they are coated on the wind blades. And we know that these wind blades degrade over time. And then they are constantly, continually upgraded with this coating, with this PFAs. And this gets into not only the ground, the products, the production of whatever is being grown, but we should also consider that this travels and is affecting water supplies. It's affecting crops, animals, and this is they are finding in different states, Maine, Michigan, Illinois, New Mexico, actually around the world, that this is very unsafe. And we also have to consider in Montana, who else this is affecting? Is this affecting your neighbors? Is this affecting other states? Is this affecting, if we're up on the High Line, is this affecting Canada? Is Montana willing to take on that expense of being accountable to this PFAS, the shed from this, from the resin, from these wind turbines that's happening? We have to also know the disposal when they decommission these turbines, because what I'm checking around, I'm not finding anybody that's willing to take these. We've had these around for a lot of years. I haven't checked lately where Oklahoma is at, but they're banning. I think this is also going on in Texas, these wind turbines. We very much need to have in place bonding and have that updated, as I believe that is stated in Mr. Phelan's Senate bill, Senator Phelan. So we need to take a look at this. I have some information that I will get to the Public Service Commission, some documents for you to look at. And I would just ask that you revisit this again, that a motion is made to support these bills. This is of urgency, not something that can be sat on, because these wind companies they're moving fast and furious. This is not a company, and I was also asked in consideration of why we would support an energy that cannot support itself without a lot of government abatements, tax abatements, and many other things. They don't support themselves. And to look at, to share with the public what is the cheapest energy out there. I am quite sure that it is not wind, but it would be fun to take a look at our different sources of energy and see which it would be the least expensive with the least footprint, which also would not be wind. It's covering up massive amounts of our land throughout the United States and throughout the entire planet, honestly. So I just think we have some serious things to look at, but we definitely need to know we need to be bonded. These things need to be bonded on the front end, just like they are with federal land. That needs to happen on state land, and that needs to happen on private land also. These companies have got to be accountable. They have to be accountable to this. They are making more money building these things than anything else. And I feel like it's detrimental to our health, it's detrimental to our welfare, and it's detrimental to our state. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Pertz. Are there any others online? Mr. Patterson, did you have a follow-up comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was so excited about the opportunity to talk to you guys. I forgot to mention, we talked about this last time. It was an LC at that time with Representative Brewster, but now it's a bill 363 about redistricting and changing some parameters with the Public Service Commission, whatnot. I know you guys talked about opposing that or you know, I don't know, information or whatever it was on it, but I still say it's a terrible bill. You know, it limits freedom, and we're already losing representation like crazy out here in the eastern part of the state due to several factors, but totally be detrimental to our future, that's for sure. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that it is now picked up and has become a House Bill 363. So I'm sure your staff has filled in on it, but I just wanted to make you be aware that I certainly haven't changed my mind on. I think it's a terrible bill and should be strongly opposed and tabled if possible, but that's my opinion. So thanks again for allowing that. I'll sign off. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. That bill will be heard tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So is there any further? Did our public commenter ever, our in-person commenter ever show up or come online? Okay, seeing no further comment, and I don't believe we have any announcements. Do we have any announcements to changes to our agenda? We have none. Therefore, our only action item is approval of commission minutes for the week of January 27th, 2025. Do I hear a motion to accept?
Mr. President, I move adoption of the commission minutes for the week of January 27th, 2025.
The issue having been moved, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Are there any comments? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye.
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 And those opposed, same sign. The minutes are adopted. So therefore, we'll begin the work session, which today consists of the legislative updates this commission initiated. We will discuss bills relevant to the PSC mission, statutory authority, administrative process, and general agency concerns. Mr. Trevor, Mr. Graff.
Mr. President.
It's yours.
Mr. President, Commissioners, same format as always. We'll start with the previous action of the last week relevant to the commission. Kind of funny, most of it happened yesterday. House Bill 103, the Railway Program Expansion Bill, was tabled in House Appropriations on a 13-10 vote. Key thing to note, we still have some avenues open, and we are working those avenues to find a best option going forward, and we will continue to do that. Should have an update for you on that front in the next couple days. But we're not completely out of the woods on the railway program bill yet. We are still working on it. The commission's 4 other bills on the legislative agenda are in the same spot they were last week. They've been transmitted to their second houses and haven't been scheduled for hearing. House Bill 263, the data center reporting bill that we elected to monitor, was tabled yesterday at the same time as appropriations in House Energy, however, on a 12-2 vote. And as Mr. Pattison noted, and as Mr. President, you noted, House Bill 363, the PSC appointment bill, is scheduled for hearing tomorrow at 3 p.m. in room 472 in the House Energy Committee. I have 3 new bills for you. 2 of them I would consider more for your information than really an action item. The first is Senate Bill 228. That bill is actually scheduled for hearing this afternoon. It moved quick in the Senate. Essentially what it does is adjust requirements for electric vehicle charging stations. One being that they all must install a separate meter approved by the utility to monitor the sale of electricity through those charging stations. The second group of changes relate to the tax charged on the sale of electricity for electric vehicles. The most significant of those changes is probably on page 3, where it aligns the sale of electricity with really the sale of gasoline at the Department of Transportation. Requires them to pay their tax collection no later than 30 days after the first day, requires them to register no later than 30 days after the first day of operation. And then the rest of the section aligns them with how we handle fuel tax, essentially. This is kind of an evolution of the first couple of tax bills that were implemented in regard to EV charging stations, and seems to be really, further tweaks toward making the system work better. So if there's no questions on 228, I can move on to 326. House Bill 326 is a bill creating the State Energy Resource Severance Act, which is a severance tax for energy sources that aren't coal. Basically, this appears to be an attempt to equalize other energy resources tax burden with that of coal production. Again, this is outside the scope of the commission's daily charge, but something to kind of note that is going on this session. It appears that this bill is probably a partner with another bill seeking to try to equalize property tax for all of the generating resources. Haven't quite seen that one yet, but this one's out now. I think what you note is this is a lot of new sections. Probably the most interesting thing to you is, where is that money going to go? You can see all of those trust accounts on page 6 and 7 of the bill. And if there's no questions, we could move on to a bill that is more directly tied to the PSC.
Are there any questions or comments on the bills that were discussed that are somewhat tangential, described as somewhat tangential to the PSC mission? Seeing none, please continue.
The last bill, actually, language came out last night or this morning, is LC 1707. This one too is kind of tangential to the statutory charge of the commission as it sits. But this bill requires setbacks for wind turbines, just, black and white in ink setbacks. Those being a 1,250-foot setback from the property line of any property subject to a wind energy agreement. So if you have a wind lease on land, you still couldn't site a wind turbine within 1,250 feet of the property line of that land. Second, a setback of 3,000 feet from any public road or highway as defined by state code. And then third, 7,920 feet, or if you do the math, 1.5 miles from the property line of any real property not subject to a wind energy agreement. So the way I read that is if your land borders land that does have a wind lease, those folks with the wind lease could not site a wind turbine within 1.5 miles of your property line. And that pretty simply is all that's in that bill.
We have a question from Commissioner Panochi.
So let's say a farmer is trying to generate power on his property, and he's not looking to sell it to an energy company. He's looking to use that power on his farm. Is he able to put that turbine up without being prevented to do so because of these limits on how close he can be to a property line?
Mr. President, Commissioner, in my read of this bill, yes, because it pertains to a wind turbine generator built pursuant to a wind energy agreement.
Follow up, Mr.
So if he were to be putting a wind turbine up, say, to power a well or something of that nature, or to get a little extra power at the home place, yes. If he's building his own wind turbines to try to sell power to a utility, that would be a wind energy agreement, and that would be a no.
Follow up, Mr. President. The concern I have here is for the private landowners that are trying to just produce energy to trade will be prevented to do so, forcing them out of the industry. Personally, I've been trying to support people to be self-sufficient. And this looks like a bill that might be designed to say, if you're a large company putting in wind turbines, here's a way we can prevent small producers. I think it's a red flag for the people that may want to use wind, just try to make up for the energy they use on their farm. Based on that, I'd like to make a motion to stand against that bill, unless we can see that small landowners have the right to put wind turbines up without these, what I see to be unreasonable guidelines, because I think it prevents them from putting up wind to try to make up for what they're using. That's a concern I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
We have a motion. Can you restate the House bill number or the bill number, please?
It's not a bill yet, Mr. President. It's LC 1707, but it is the speaker's bill, and I would imagine they'll move quick.
Could be. So that's LC 1707.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion to oppose LC 1707. Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing none, motion dies. You have more?
I have no more bills. If there's no more questions on those, I would just note that, as we mentioned, Senate Bill 228, the charging station bill is up today at 3, and House Bill 363 is up at 3 tomorrow. I would anticipate some more bills dropping soon. Both Senate and House Energy have kind of run through their folders. And there's a few bills that are close. but not quite through the editing process. So things should pick up here in the next week to 10 days, I would expect.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Question.
Where are we at with Bob Phelan's bill? I made a motion to support Bob Phelan's bill. I got a second, but I didn't get a chance to do discussion. I still like to do that. Does Bob Phelan's bill have any concerns, or is it worth following with the Public Service Commission? And I noticed we didn't talk about it today.
Mr.
For
President,
clarification, is that Senate Bill 160?
yep. Mr. President, Commissioners, Senate Bill 160, you voted to monitor simply. I think what I would say in regard to the mention of the commission in that bill, they put the definition of commission in the bill because that bill requires a wind energy company, along with their bonding application, as part of that bonding application, to submit a description of the commission adopted rate for the wind farm in either their PPA or QF proceeding. So the commission doesn't have an action item per se in the process laid out in that bill. They're simply using information produced from a proceeding here as part of the application process. And that's why the commission definition is in the bill.
Follow up, Mr. President. Being that the word commission's there and the concerns from my district, I think, are real, I'd like to make a motion to support the bill. If I get a second, I'd like to discuss it, which I wasn't able to last time. And so that's what I'm asking for, Mr. President. Thank you.
So we have a motion to support Senate Bill 160.
I'd like a point of order on that. The commissioner made the motion last week. The motion, there was a substitute motion passed instead. I don't think that someone who made a motion that didn't pass can bring the same motion back to the same body. I'm not certain. Maybe Chief Legal could offer some parliamentarian advice. I'm not sure if that's allowed or not. I don't mind having the discussion, but I just want to make sure we're following the proper protocol under our rules of order.
Chief Legal Lucas.
Yes, Mr. President, Vice President, Commissioners, I would candidly have to go back and review some rules of order from Robert's Rules. The general rule on reconsideration of a prior action is that it has to be a motion made for reconsideration by a commissioner who prevailed on the prior motion. So I suppose the question then would become, did Commissioner Pinocci vote in favor of the motion to monitor when the substitute motion was made?
No, he did not, according to the minutes. So another commissioner could make that motion if they wanted to, but
Commissioner Pinocci.
I do want to make it clear on the record that after I had the second, I wasn't able to do any discussion, and I had a list of things I wanted to go over. Call the question happened, and that was it. So I do want to ask Lucas Hamilton, do you think I should have had the time to do discussion after I got the second? What are your thoughts there?
Mr. President and Commissioners, I don't know that I'm in a great position to go back and opine on what happened in the previous meeting, that is. Certainly, it's normal under Robert's Rules after a motion has a second to open it up to discussion. At that point, you can have another motion, a substitute motion, which if it receives a second, takes precedent over the underlying motion under Robert's Rules. Yeah, that would be my contribution at this point.
Thank you. Just for clarification, so the person that would have to make the motion is someone that voted in favor of the previous motion.
Mr. President, the motion for reconsideration under Robert's Rules can only be made by a member of the body that voted in favor of the action that is being reconsidered.
Thank you. With great trepidation, do I hear such a motion? Seeing none, motion is denied. Oh, seeing none, no motion has been made, so we return to status quo. We stay at status quo.
Mr. President, that's all I had for you today.
I have a couple questions.
Commissioner Fielder.
So we've got some bills that we voted to monitor, and SB 160 is one of them. So can you give us a update on where those bills are at? We had House Bill 314 regarding the State Energy Authority, creation of a State Energy Authority. We had
Yep.
SB 188 revising solar energy policy laws, and then we had SB 160 generally revising wind and solar decommissioning and bonding laws.
Mr. President, commissioners, for the most part, if I don't mention those, they've had a hearing and they're waiting on executive action.
Okay,
And I believe that's where all of those are sitting right now. So
okay. Thank you.
Before I adjourn us, I would like to remind all that despite any motion or vote on any one bill by the commission, a commissioner is always allowed to go forward and address it, perhaps in a hearing. We only ask that he point out that this is not a commission position, but rather the position of himself. So with that in mind, are there,
Yep, just a comment to Mr. President. It's been the practice of the commission to be very cautious about entering into support or opposition to a legislative matter, especially one where we haven't participated in the hearings, watched the hearings, and it's not an agency bill that we've been working on. So for the folks that are coming to the commission and asking us to oppose or support legislation, I would suggest the more proper place would be to go state your opinions to the legislature, because they're the ones that are holding the debates on the legislation. And the commission generally respects the legislative process. We are a member of the executive branch here, so our agency is required to execute the laws that the legislature passes. And due to the respect to the separation of powers, we are very careful about interfering with legislative processes, but allowing the legislature to manage those processes with the public themselves. And then when we have special expertise about a matter that is within our jurisdiction, we try to help make sure that the legislature has that information and is making informed decisions. And of course, if we feel very strongly about something they're doing that affects our ability to do the mission that they have set out for us, or makes that mission impossible, we let them know if there's complications and things like that and give advice. But we're just really careful about weighing into the policy debates about the various pieces of legislation that are up at the Capitol, just for the purposes of, keeping clear lines of separation of powers, and also allowing those debates to happen at the Capitol, where a full and robust hearing process is provided for, versus this commission that may have very limited information on something because we're not hosting those full hearings. So that is why I've expressed reservations and recommended that we monitor a piece of legislation that some may feel very passionate about, and maybe a very good piece of legislation, but we just haven't had the hearing, and we're not hosting hearings here. And I think in order to make a good decision, we need to do a lot more due diligence on legislation before we jump in.
thank you, Commissioner Fielder. I would have to concur with that, with this singular caveat that while the commission is cautious and takes votes on this, that doesn't mean we're all in agreement. And as individuals, we can, but the caveat, the admonition that we must be very careful in using that right. There will, whatever opinion or fact that is carried by a commissioner or inadvertently by a staff member, probably has an equal and opposite force coming against it. And you aren't going to be there for that. So we need to be very careful because we are executive, we are not legislative, though many of us have quite a bit of experience on that. So with that admonition,
Mr. President,
Hello. Who's this?
Commissioner Bukacek.
Commissioner Bukacek is recognized.
I just wanted to thank Vice President Fielder for her explanation. It was extremely well stated. And thank you to President Molnar.
You're welcome. Seeing nothing further to come before the commission, we are adjourned at 11:39, 24:25. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, wait a minute. Should I announce about the meeting on Thursday at Big Timber? Okay, before we do that, and this is very important, because the lines of communication in Big Timber are difficult because the paper comes out on Thursday, and on Thursday, we're having a listening session to solicit public comment about the status of the Class D service provided by Allied Waste, DBA Republic Services, and complaints reported to the commission and the meeting will be at the Carnegie Public Library, 314 McLeod Street. It'll begin at 5:30, go to 7:30. Members of the public that have filed complaints have been notified, and that's nowhere near the number of people that live there that have been impacted. So all are welcome, and we would appreciate their participation because we don't bring complaints, we answer complaints. So thank you very much. We are adjourned.